How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See Through Panel showing off my July 2023 comics and manga haul. I bought far too many books this past month. My pre-order box was huge. Then I went to a bookstore and got more, and then I ordered some stuff online, and it just resulted in a gigantic haul that probably is the biggest one I've had on the channel, and probably won't happen again. I gotta downsize a little the next few months because my shelves are gonna get full if I keep up at this rate, but as always, I won't be spoiling anything, but I will be flipping through some of the books, talking about the art a little bit, the basic premise. I haven't read most of these books. I just got them, so don't be too worried about spoilers. So let's get into it, because this is going to be kind of a long one, I imagine. First book will be Hat Atelier by Kamome Shirahama. That's the first time I've tried to pronounce that. I hope I said it right. Very matte production on these. Published by Kodansha, and I bought these because I read the first couple chapters, and the tone was very Ghibli. The aesthetic is also very Ghibli, and I really like this fantasy world that's been created in this book. It is a kind of, I guess, medieval, but there's some like steampunky tech elements involved as well. It is very Ghibli in that way, where wizards are kind of this secretive organization that are benevolent. They seem to be helping a lot of people, but no one really knows how they operate. And this girl goes to learn magic, and it's very wholesome, and the style is just really, really great. And I mostly bought this just because it felt like a really happy read, and very different than a lot of the comics I have, especially a lot of the manga, where it doesn't seem like a big Kaiju number 8 style shonen or anything like that. Just kind of a slice of life style with some drama and some magic and stuff. Looks really, really great. I'm very excited to read that. I've heard really great things online about it. Then I got these two books to complete the Daredevil, will catch up with the Daredevil run by Chip Zdarsky. This is To Heaven Through Hell, Part 2, which is Volume 4 of the Daredevil run from Marvel. I haven't caught up on it because I'm saving it all for when it's done. I bought the Devil's Reign trade paperback because it's not included in any of the oversized hardcovers, which is kind of annoying, so I have to have this trade now. But Marco Cicchetto's on art, and it looks phenomenal to me. Daredevil is my favorite kind of big two character. I really enjoy his stories. It's one of the only things really keeping me involved with Marvel Comics, so really excited to read those eventually, but for now, not too high on the list. I'm going to wait for the whole run to finish up. But I am excited to have them on my Daredevil shelf, so. Then I got Above Snakes by, let's check, published by Image, written by Sean Lewis with art by Hayden Sherman, lettering by Hassan Otsmani Elhow. I hope I said that right. Looks to me like a revenge western. I'm going to be careful how I flip through this because I think there might be nudity, but Hayden Sherman's art looks gorgeous. He's coloring it himself. Very detailed, but very scratchy at the same time. A lot of ink on the page. Really enjoying the kind of aesthetic that Hayden Sherman is evolving into. I've seen a couple of his books over the last year or two. Never actually bought one physically, though, and I'm really excited to finally have one. So the use of color in this is just wild. Such vibrant, pastel-y colors that you wouldn't expect out of a Western, especially one that looks like a very violent revenge story. Very excited for that. This was kind of just to round out to get free shipping on a website, but I bought Mind Management, the first paperback omnibus, because I heard great things about it. I love Matt Kindt as a writer. I have the Mind Management bootleg hardcover that I showed off in a haul a couple months ago, and I didn't actually have the series. I've never read it, so I don't really want to read bootleg till I read it. And it looks awesome. There's probably nudity in this too, because Matt Kindt writes pretty adult comics, but his art style is just really unique, not very indie, not something you're going to see at DC or Marvel, and it's very watercolor all over the place. Really excited to read this. No idea what it's about. Just my impression is that it's like a government organization that's like controlling the minds of the people or something like that. I don't even know where I got that idea, but that's kind of the vibe I get. But it does look very interesting. Already violence on like page 20, so I'm sure it's going to be a long read, though. There's 3 books of this size to complete the series, and then there's a hardcover with the spin-off bootleg, so gotta get through all that eventually. This still has the price tag on it because I haven't gotten out the alcohol to rub off the sticky stuff. This is the Squitter by Ben Templesmith, published by IDW. I have no idea what this is about, but it looked like Ben Templesmith doing Lovecraft action, which is awesome. And Templesmith's art is just to die for. There's no artist working that really looks like him. Even the way he uses color is kind of interesting to me. There's a lot of shadow, a lot of like bright. The way he does like light sources is really odd, where it kind of looks very digital, but it also works really well to me. This, I have no idea what this is. Maybe some like Lovecraftian horror mixed with like a badass action hero, but seems really cool to me. It was obviously $10 at Half Price Books, which is awesome. Then we got The Golden Age by Roxanne Morel and Cyril Pedrosa. I'll turn it so you can see the whole thing here. Published by First Second. And I haven't been doing prices, but this retails for $30. This is the first book. I think there's at least two. Bright turquoise end papers. I bought this for the art alone. I saw this at a bookstore, bought it for the art immediately. I had actually been eyeing it every time I was in that bookstore, but I never actually picked it up. I finally purchased it, and I'm glad I did because the art just looks amazing. It looks very fairy tale, kind of classic, like myth kind of deal. I'm not sure. Gamma Yun Tales, which I covered on the channel, kind of reminds me of the tone of this from what I've seen so far, where it's kid friendly, but there's some very cool themes and very interesting things the book has to say. Mostly, I just bought it for this art because it's so stylish and unique, and I've never really seen. Actually, you know what? This reminds me of looking at my shelf to see it. You know what? I'm not going to be able to find it. Oh, Kyle Baker. For some reason, this reminds me a little of Kyle Baker because of the way the line work looks in this panel, with like the very flat backgrounds and the like no hard outlines on the characters. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kyle Baker. Don't know if that's completely off base, but it is an interesting comparison. Then we have Dondadon, Volume 4 by Yukinobu Tatsu, which I am loving this series. The last volume ended, and this volume opens with the fan service, which is what I'm not a huge fan of. But I am really excited. See, we've already got it. I am really excited to continue the story because it's been just a wild ride of crazy creatures and character drama, a little bit of romance, just crazy sci-fi superpowers, and just beautiful art by Yukinobu Tatsu. So this will be covered on the channel before long because it's an easy read, and I kind of can't help myself from catching up on it as soon as I can. So that'll be up soon. This one I've been waiting for, and I'm really excited about. It's All Against All by Alex Packnadel on writing, Casper Wingard on art, and Hassan Asmani Elhau once again on letters. Don't think I said that right. Published by Image. I don't know what this is about. It seems to be about a sci-fi civilization who's kind of got this biodome, kind of isolated evolution experiment where they're like evolving creatures to fit their kind of bodies that they're growing for themselves in this world. If I remember right, I read the first issue months ago. If I remember right, the characters can kind of re-sleeve and go into different bodies, so they never really age physically. They're always moving body to body, and this is kind of an evolutionary experiment to see what they can create, and obviously they have created a human, which makes things a lot more relatable, I imagine. Kind of brings it down a level from just really far out sci-fi, but it does look super interesting. Casper Wingard's art is ridiculous. The colors in this book are so vibrant. The line work is almost difficult to understand the way he's doing it. Like, I don't know how you could draw something like this. I would lose myself in these pages, especially in black and white. I would be completely lost. I believe he is coloring himself. Yeah, he is coloring himself, so it's probably easier for him that way, but if these were just black and white pages, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So this looks amazing just on art alone. I'm super, super excited. Been waiting for a long time to read this one. Collected. Got So Ichi by Junji Ito, obviously published by Viz in this nice classic hardcover style that they do. So Ichi's a character that's come up in a few. I am bending that far too much, apparently. The binding not great. I think it might just be glued. think it's just a glued binding. But, so Ichi's a little boy who's known to have nails coming out of his mouth. It's kind of his classic thing. It's an evil little boy, and he's come up in a lot of stories from Junji Ito, and this seems to just be collecting stories specifically about him. So, I don't really know much about it other than it's just a classic Junji Ito anthology with really creepy stuff. And this happens to be centered around a really creepy little boy who kills people and, like, has a really messed up family life and a bunch of weird... I mean, it's weird horror Junji Ito style. You know what to expect from by now, I hope. Blade of the Immortal, Deluxe Edition, Volume 9, nearly done. This is one of the first things I ever started collecting in the trade, or in the paperback omnibus editions. When they started releasing the hardcovers, I started getting all of them, and I'm still doing it years and years later. Almost done. There's one more after this. I'm not going to show it because there's a lot of violence and nudity. Mostly it's the nudity that I can't show you. In this series, not a lot, just some, I'll say. But definitely read it. It's my favorite manga of all time. Hands down. I'll get to it eventually on the channel, definitely. Then we have The Fever in Urbicond and The Invisible Frontier by Benoit Peters and Francois Schuiten. These are really oversized, as you can tell. I'll throw a trade paperback on them to show you. These are the IDW collections from a few years ago, I believe. Maybe just last year, even. Yeah, they're oversized as hell. Really nice painted cover. Not by Hayden Sherman, but it is nice. These I just bought because of my recent video on the tower. Really intrigued by Schuiten's art, and Peter's storytelling is very interesting to me, so I got these. They seem to be vastly different styles. From the tower to these two books, I'm seeing 3 different styles out of Schuiten. I already forgot how to say it's a Schuiten or something. I'm not French, so I'm just going to say... I'm an American, so I'll just pronounce everything wrong, and that's fine. So the art style has changed drastically. Very flat coloring, a lot less lines from the tower. This is, I believe, before the tower. This is made before the tower was made. I know nothing about the story here, literally nothing. I flipped through this and The Invisible Frontier, and I can tell you there is nudity in both, so I can't flip very far through this. I'll be very careful to show you some things, but the geometry looks very similar to the tower. There's a lot of very architecturally based panels, very straight lines. Obviously, that's something he loves to draw. Coloring, far different than what you see at the end of the tower. But everything else, I can tell it's the same artist, but just barely. Like, I really can't tell. If I was coming in blind, I don't think I would recognize this next to the tower that they're the same artist. Then we have The Invisible Frontier, which I think aesthetically works a little better for me. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's got the incredible line work of the tower mixed with very, very beautiful colors that I don't necessarily want to say painterly, but it's that kind of Enki Bailal, very European color style that I love. It's got so much depth to it, very intricate, and this looks just beautiful. This is the one I am most excited about of the two. This one just looks absolutely gorgeous to me. I do think I just about skipped to some nudity. Luckily, I caught that. But yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. Really excited for that one. I'll probably be getting to that one relatively soon. 3 more. All right. I'll do these 2 quick. We've got Night of the Ghoul by Scott Snyder and Francesco Francavilla, published by Dark Horse, but originally put out digitally through Scott Snyder's digital press thing. I can't recall I don't remember what it's named, but he put it out digitally originally, and this is Dark Horse putting out the physical versions. And I read this digitally probably over a year ago. I couldn't really tell you a ton about it. I know it's about a father who is struggling with his relationship with his son. He's divorced from his wife, the son's mother, and he's pursuing this creator of an old, very, indie film, and he's pursuing the creator to kind of help him understand what it's about, interview him. He wants to know the secrets of it, the deepest parts of the creation of the story. Turns out there's some truth behind it. It's an old horror movie about a ghoul, and I think World War II. turns out there's some truth to the school, and the whole thing kind of erupts into chaos when the father and son get wrapped up in this cultish behavior inside this hospital, and the ghoul is attacking them, and then we're constantly flipping back and forth from past to present in these kind of sepia-toned, not even sepia, a little more grayscale than that, flashbacks to the actual movie. So this is all a movie, but it's based on true events, is what the creator says. All of that, there's a lot going on. I really liked it when I read it, but I'm really mostly here for Francesco Francavilla, who frankly we just don't get enough from. We don't get enough comics by Francavilla, nearly enough. His covers are wonderful, but I'm glad that we finally get some interiors out of him. And a horror book, nonetheless. I really am excited to reread this one. I don't fully remember it, and I know there's a lot of twists and turns that I'm just not going to remember, so... Classic coloring by Francavilla. Like, he always kind of colors in a very similar manner, and I really enjoy his style. Very simple and clean, but has a lot of intricate work in the shadows and the shading and things, so really excited about that. Young Hellboy, Assault on Castle Death by Mike Mignola, Thomas Snigoski, I'm probably saying that wrong, Craig Rousseau, Chris O'Halloran on colors, Clem Robbins on letters. It's a Young Hellboy book. I get like almost all of the Hellboy books because I really enjoy the BPRD universe. I have a whole shelf dedicated to it that I'll show off sometime. Honestly, couldn't tell you what it is, but considering it's a Hellboy story, I could probably tell you he encounters some sort of supernatural entity. He cracks a joke at it, and he's a kid, so it might be a little different, actually. He encounters a supernatural entity, runs away from it. A new character comes in to help him take it down, and he learns something and then goes back to have pancakes, probably. I don't know what this is about. The art is very different in these Young Hellboy books than it is in the regular BPRD books. A lot more of a cartoony style, but I really enjoy them nonetheless, and it's really fun to see the character that I'm very familiar with at a much younger age with a much different personality, but still recognizable as that character. Lobster Johnson's making an appearance. That's awesome. Should have noticed that from the cover, probably. Yeah, he's right there. But yeah, super excited to add that to my BPRD collection that is quickly growing, and I cannot keep up with it. The last book is a Rick Remender Giant Generator book published by Image, A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. Art by Andre Lima Araujo, I think. Chris O'Halloran on letters. Colors. Russ Wooten on letters. I got that wrong. Of course, yeah. Chris O'Halloran's a colorist. I don't know why I thought that. Anyway, I can't show much of this because there's nudity and a lot of ultra violence. But this book is basically a comics version of a movie. It is decompressed as all hell. It is Rick Remender telling a revenge story, but not a typical one. It has got a lot of depth to it, and you won't understand a lot of what's happening until you get to the end. The characters are very complex. There's no internal monologues. There's no thought bubbles, nothing like that. There's just dialogue. It's very much comics form playing as like a screenplay. Dialogue's very short and concise. The art is so clear and detailed that everything is like as close you can get to a photograph without it being super hyper realistic, which I really like. It's still very easily recognizably comics, but it's just got that perfect Lynn Clare kind of so easy to read, and you go through it so quickly. The dialogue's so, as I said, so concise that you're reading at such a fast clip that this gets you're gonna read this giant book super fast. I can't really show you much more. I'll try and flip to something else here. Hopefully no nudity. Yeah, there we go. Speed lines up and down. The color's going crazy because of the action scene. Yeah, it's great. It's a great story. I read it digitally when it was coming out, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to visit it in a super oversized Rick Remender style hardcover that he is infamous for putting out, and I love him for it because he works with the best artists in the industry, and he gives them gigantic books, which I adored having on my shelf. So you stack all these up. It's far too much to fit into frame because it was a dumb big haul. I tried to go a lot faster on this one. My apologies if I went a little too fast. It's really late here and I wanted to get this wrapped up. Plus, it's just too many books to go into detail on. And frankly, I don't have a ton to say because I haven't read most of them. But almost done stacking these up here. Really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know if any of these should be added to the top of my to-read list. Some of them are already pretty much up there. I want to get into Hat Atelier very fast. Dondadon's going to be coming up very fast as well. And the Squitter books are going to be super high on my list. So I'm really excited to have all these. It was great to have all these books in 1 month. It was really fun to open the box and do this video and stuff, but I'm going to hopefully slow it down a bit and get less books or more shelves, one or the other. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace.